Into Uncommon Women, a podcast that provides a platform for women of all walks of life to share their upbringings, life lessons learned, experiences, and journeys to come. Uncommon Women speaks on topics that can relate to all women. We share, we listen, we laugh, we cry, and we empower each other to be the best uncommon woman that they can be. Ultimately, we are cultivating a global movement of women supporting women. Women supporting entrepreneurship, relationships, self-love, and so much more. We inspire each other to make an impact on this world for the better. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to Uncommon Women. Now, finally, grab a seat, get comfortable, and hear from your wonderful hosts, Shanira and Jenny Lee. Hi, kings and queens. Thank you so much for tuning in to Uncommon Women. I'm Shanira.
And I'm Jenny Lee.
And today we have an amazing guest speaker that's going to be with us today, Pamela Thomas. She's a mindset coach of 15 years. She'll be helping us today with the necessary steps on how to develop a better mindset in regards to the negative, change it into the positive. Before we bring on the platform, I did want to let you guys know if you guys have any questions or concerns, you're more than welcome to drop it into the comments and then we'll be able to answer it after our segment. Pam is a cutting edge mindset coach and founder of What's Within You, an international coach practice named one of the top 20th business coaches in Phoenix by Influence Digest. Pam has helped thousands of people change their can't mindset to the one of the can and does. Pam also is a faculty of University of Texas at Dallas and their executive and professional coaching certificate program. When she's not coaching or teaching, she's sharing her personal stories and mindset, shifting her tips on her website. And we'll go into her website a little bit later. So Pam, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to have you on our platform today.
Oh, go
ahead.
It's an honor. Sorry.
Is there anything that I didn't cover in your bio that you would like to tell us about you?
No, you did great, other than the fact that I'm a total quote junkie. So if y'all have some really great motivational quotes, I love them, send them my way.
Oh, okay. She's awesome. So before we get into the good stuff, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? How was your life growing up? And then, how you got into helping people change their mindset?
Oh, well, my life growing up was amazing fodder for the work I do today that I absolutely love. I'm in the process, total transparency, I'm in the process of writing a book called The Stories I Told Myself. And in that book, I share about my childhood. And part of what I share, I was born in Kansas City to two people who honestly should have never been married. And while I love my parents to death and they're amazing human beings as individuals, and I'm super glad they had my sister and I, they really should have never been married. They were the poster children for some of the negative stories that I developed and embellished. And I don't want to bash them in any way, because as I said, they are incredible human beings and I'm very grateful. But I truly believe, like everyone, they were carrying around their own crappy stories that had them settling in an unhappy marriage, crappy stories that had them trying desperately to fit in with people by chasing status, and to the point where one parent became an alcoholic. They were just unhappy people. And I remember as a young adult, my Nana said to me, she says, Pammy, she called me Pammy, you live in a beautiful house, but your walls are crying. And she wasn't wrong. The walls in our house were crying. And the walls in our house were the walls in which I created the stories that influenced my characters as a codependent, people-pleasing peacekeeper. And I have to say, it's really interesting. I am truly grateful. I'm truly grateful to my parents for being the poster child or children to some of my stories. I'm also truly grateful to those stories and to the characters that they created, because I don't think without those, I don't think I would be doing the work that I'm doing today. And I'm blessed to be able to do that. And I think what's really important is those stories and those characters helped me as teachers. They were my greatest teachers.
Mm.
I learned so much. And I also learned that I was meant to be a codependent, people-pleasing peacekeeper, as weird as that sounds. Because without those roles, I honestly wouldn't have gained the gifts of knowledge, learning, compassion, understanding, and this huge desire that I have to help millions of women, deal with the negative narrative that keeps them from valuing and cherishing their uncommon uniqueness and keeps them from seeing what they're capable of. So I feel blessed.
That's good. I like how you didn't use the troubled background as a child to stop you from being the person that you are now. You use it as a stepping tool to be able to help others. So I
Absolutely.
appreciate you with that. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Thank you.
And so what do you typically see that as your inspiration and how you started helping people change their mindset? Or was there
Yeah,
something else, like a different transition?
no, I didn't have any catastrophic event that happened in my world that made me all of a sudden have this huge awakening. I think every story that I ever created, and honestly, since the time I was about 8 years old, no, 10 years old, sorry, 10 years old, I have been on a quest to figure out how to deal with the negative narrative that was playing in my head. I really thought there was something wrong with me. Because I couldn't understand why I was having these negative thoughts. Nobody told me that that's absolutely natural. So my quest really, and all the behaviors and the storytelling really led me to what I'm doing here. I had a mentor once say, Pam, people don't care about the training that you've gone through. They don't care about the alphabet soup behind your name. What they care about are the fires you've walked through that are going to help them walk through their own. And these are my fires, and I'm using them to help others walk through their own fires.
I love that. That's awesome. So let's elaborate a little bit more on some fires that people may have. Could you express a time where, or maybe someone else may have felt like they didn't fit in, or they weren't good enough, and what they can do to change that mindset in regards to when people are feeling like they're not good enough?
Absolutely. And that is the most prevalent story, particularly as women, that we tell ourselves. We go through this comparison. We were talking before the show about comparison. That comparison, looking at other people and what they have, and in comparison to what we have. And that story of not good enough really undermines our own ability to see the great things that we are able to do and the great people that we are. And so I think, this is something that I deal with personally. It's a personal story, the not good enough narrative. And that not good enough narrative, what that does and what I've seen it do, not just in my own life, but in other women's life, is it has us settling in relationships that we know aren't good for us. Girlfriends, if I could tell you some of the strange people I've dated, it would curl your toes. And I know this is a G-rated show, so I'll refrain from the toe curling. But we do. We try, because
I want to hear one of them. I mean, just to give me a little bit of, okay, maybe I'll stay away from that. Maybe a little red flag,
Yeah, definitely. I'll agree with Shanira. Definitely want to hear at least one.
How do I put this? They keep it G-rated. I dated a guy who, well, after 2 weeks of knowing me, decided we were going to get married. Come to find out, I did a background. I'm keeping this G-rated, so I'm picking another. Come to find out, I actually had the wherewithal to do a background check, and he had several restraining orders against him from other women.
Wow. That's scary, though. But that's really
Yeah.
scary.
But that's what not good enough does to you. You don't feel good enough and don't feel that love. Like, I'm a lovable person and I'm worthy of love. So you settle for less.
That's true.
And you settle in jobs that you totally hate and that you can't stand. You allow others' expectations to kind of take control over what direction you head in, because you're just you don't feel good enough about you to trust yourself enough to know, hey, I've got my own back and this is okay. And I can handle this and I am good enough.
So how do you get yourself out of a wall when you're at a job where it's not peaceful? Because I need some tips on that. Where
That's
like this ain't working. I'm trying to keep my peace. Elaborate on that for me.
Well, I'll tell you, as a recovered peacekeeper, I prefer to be a peacemaker and not a peacekeeper. So I recognize first and foremost that other people's stuff is their stuff. It's not mine to fix. So I take kind of the observer role, because when we're observing someone in that toxic environment, like the drama queen who comes to work and everything's negative and they want to bring everybody down. Am I speaking?
Yes.
Okay. If you can stay in that observer role, which can be kind of difficult because they can push buttons, but if you can observe it and just go, that's interesting, and not engage with it, it doesn't have the same impact. So I like to try and be the fly on the wall and go, that's fascinating. Oh, isn't that interesting? She's being a drama queen, or not even labeling it. Oh, wow, she must be in a lot of pain today. It helps me to come from that place of compassion rather than that place of, okay, let me get anchored into your drama, so then I can feel pretty crappy too, right alongside with you. Yeah.
Wow. And I've seen a lot with people in the work environment that are just accustomed to the negativity, like, oh, I had such a bad day today. And it's like, if you bring something positive to them, they're like, I never thought of that. Or you're right, it was just an hour this morning and I got here. So I think that helps with people that always want to, be Debbie Downer, whatever that word is. Yeah, but I agree. Yeah. I definitely agree.
I love to ask the question. So tell me something good. Tell me something good.
Can you speak on how a person goes from thinking negative to doing and then achieving the positive?
Sure. So one of the things, and anything that has to do with negative narrative really is that can't. Not good enough, so I can't do that. And so I think first and foremost, I've got quite a few tips here. First and foremost, it's really important that negative narrative plays on a loop, so it becomes a habit to the point where we don't necessarily hear it. I have a negative naysayer in my head. Her name is Biddy B. Itch. Fill in the blanks. And because I'm so used to her voice, sometimes I tune it out, but it's still playing in the background. So I think really what's critical is being very aware of when that negative naysayer is yammering in your ear. And the best way to be aware is to check in with how you feel, because your feelings are impacted by what you're thinking. So even if you're not aware of the negative narrative that's playing in your head, you can be aware of how you're feeling so you can check in. So if you're feeling crappy, hey, I'm kind of curious. I'm wondering what's creating that crappy feeling. So having an understanding of how you feel can indicate what's going on between your ears. And then bringing it out. I love to journal when it comes to the negative dialogue that happens, because the negative narrative is like bacteria. If you keep bacteria in the dark, it grows. It grows. But if you bring it to the light, it shrinks, it shrivels up. Its power is diminished. The negative narrative is the same way. So whether I'm journaling about it or talking to someone that I love and trust about it, I'm bringing it out. So I'm getting it out from the darkness between my head where it is magnified tenfold. And I'm, creating awareness and shining a light on it. So I diminish the power of it. That's helpful. The other thing that I think is really helpful is recognizing your mindset impacts how you see yourself and how you see the world around you. And so if you're in a negative space, If your mindset is negative and you're seeing yourself in a negative way and you're seeing the world around you in a negative way, that can be a really good indicator that there's something going on inside. There's a story being told. I liken it to, I like to use this little mirror analogy. So let's say you wake up in a fantastic mood. You had a great night's sleep. You go in, you take your shower, you get a chance to drink your coffee, you're really enjoying it. You decide, you know what, I'm going to put on my favorite outfit. And you go into your closet, you put on your favorite outfit, you're feeling great. You go in front of the mirror and you're really sweating yourself. You're thinking, man, I look great today. Okay, fantastic. Let's fast forward a week. You wake up, you've had a crappy night's sleep, you're not feeling so good, you're not in a great mood. Your alarm clock may not have gone off on time. And you decide, you know what, I'm going to put on my favorite outfit because that always makes me feel better. And you put that favorite outfit on and you get in front of the mirror and you think, ew, what was I thinking? This looks terrible. I look like a frump. Nothing has changed, not your physical appearance and not the clothing. What's changed is the mindset. That's how powerful our mindset can be. And so we have to remember that. I have more.
Yes, I'm loving this. This is really good.
It is really good.
I mean, I gained a couple pounds to COVID, so something's changed on my end. But the mindset, I like that.
Yeah,
I like
mindset
that.
makes all the difference in the world, and as to how we see ourselves. I mean, you can look in the mirror and see all the lines, or you can look in the mirror and go, damn, I'm a hot looking woman. It just all depends on the mindset and the stories that you're telling yourself. And if not good enough is playing in the background, I can guarantee you that's going to impact how you look at yourself in the mirror, for sure. I think it's important too that we remember two things. One, we're not our thoughts. We're not the negative narrative that plays in our heads. Those things don't define us. Okay. And as I mentioned before, I used to think there was something wrong with me because I couldn't stop the negative narrative. What I came to find out, and what I wish I had known, was we are pre-wired for negative thoughts. Our brains are pre-wired for negative thoughts. It's called negative bias. And we have our prehistoric ancestors to thank for that, because they had to be on high alert so that they wouldn't be attacked by a saber-toothed tiger. While we don't have to worry about saber-toothed tigers, we still stay on high alert. So we are still more, our mind is bent towards looking for the negative to be on high alert. So there's nothing wrong with us if we're having negative thoughts. It's not the negative thoughts that's the problem. It's what we allow those negative thoughts to do to us, for sure. Negative thoughts are just data. That's all they are. They're just data.
That is. I never thought of that way.
So with the negative thoughts being data, how do we change how we feel about other people dictating us, like an expectation for who we're supposed to be? How do you change that direction?
The expectation, I think it's really checking in with our own confidence level and changing how we feel about ourselves. Because the more confident we become as women, the less likely we are to allow somebody else's expectations to become our drivers. Okay. Somebody else's expectations, I can promise you this, and I don't make promises very easily. It's not personal. It has everything to do with them and nothing to do with you. Expectations have a tendency to be a way of controlling a situation.
I like
Okay,
that.
so if somebody else's expectation of you is not personal. It's because of whatever's going on inside of them.
Okay.
That's good. That's real good.
As for your emotions, when it comes to your emotions on how you feel about yourself, like I can sit there and say, you ever get a thought and it just does not go away at all?
Yeah. So one of the things, I just got finished reading this really cool book, and I know I'm going to hack the title of it. So let me find it really quickly, because I want to give the author kudos. His name is Ethan Kross, and he wrote this book called Chatter: The Voice in Our Head, Why It Matters and How to Harness It. And one of the things he talked about was when we can become a third person, instead of saying, I am X, I am fat, I am ugly, I am this, I am that, and feeding the negative thought, looking at it from the third person, being that fly on the wall. But one of the things that he said was use your name. So when I'm having a negative thought, when Biddy B when Biddy B is coming out and she's yammering in my ear and making me feel really crappy and I can't shake her, I'll go, Pam, isn't that interesting? Biddy B's on a rant. Find
Ooh,
that interesting. Poor thing. Boy, Pam, that's very interesting. Disconnecting in that way and using my name helps to diminish the feelings and the emotion behind it. So I am not as anchored into the negativity.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I think too, to your point, it's to your question, your great question, it's really important too to watch what we feed our brains on a regular basis.
Yes.
You know, we put a lot of emphasis on feeding ourselves healthy foods. The brain works the same way. Your brain doesn't know fact from fiction. And so it's your wing woman. So it is gonna tell you, it's gonna go, yeah, girlfriend, you're absolutely right. So if I look in the mirror and go, hey, I'm fat, my brain is gonna go, yep, you're fat. And I'm gonna give you evidence. I'm gonna make you feel fat. So we have to be really, really cognizant of what we're telling ourselves. And when we find that we're telling ourselves stuff, I know this is going to sound trite, just stop. Stop. Refocus your attention on something else. I love to use gratitude in moments like that. I'm grateful for my desk. I'm grateful for my son. I'm grateful for my partner. I'm grateful for my dogs. By just stopping that negative narrative in its tracks and refocusing, what I'm doing is I'm shrinking. Okay, I'm going to get geeky on you guys. Are you ready? I'm shrinking the neural pathway that has been created in my brain with that thought, and so that it becomes weak. And I'm creating a new neural pathway that is stronger. So eventually that new neural pathway will kick in because that other neural pathway has become weakened.
Okay.
it's real good.
That is.
It's real good. Do you think that when people think so negative on themselves that they start to stress eat or stress drink, how can you
Oh,
change
definitely.
that type of mindset or cognitive way of trying to live your life?
Well, as someone who almost became an alcoholic because of the negative narrative, I can tell you that doing your own internal work is really important, whether that's, as I said, talking to somebody or journaling it. The more awareness you can create, the more awareness that you can create around when you're telling yourself those negative things and why, the easier it becomes. I have a magic question. I'm going to share my magic question with you guys.
Yes.
So if I'm feeling a certain way about myself, I will ask, what would I feel if I didn't feel this? Or if I if I saw something negative about myself and I was playing that negative narrative, maybe I was replaying a conversation I had and beating myself up because I thought I said all the wrong things. What would I see if I didn't see that I said all the wrong things? When we can really get to the truth and look for the evidence that counteracts that negativity, that's when we start to diminish it so that we don't stress eat, so that we don't drink our emotions away like I did. Yeah, and that's really, really helpful. Really helpful.
Okay.
I think it's also important too, sorry, really quickly.
That's okay.
No, you're fine.
You're fine. Go ahead.
To pay attention to when you're feeling fried and crispy. As women, we like to be super women and do it all. And there's that misconception that taking care of ourselves is selfish. It really isn't, because when we're fried and crispy and we're running on fumes, we are so much more susceptible to the negative narrative.
So true.
That is
Do you
true.
have like self-care days or days where you just take time to enjoy you
Every day.
every day?
Every day. My morning starts with self-care.
Mm.
Yeah. My morning starts with self-care. And the weekends are my time to just chill. I don't work on weekends. I, just take time to relax.
Mm.
Yeah. But every day.
That's
And
awesome.
even if it's just 10 minutes, 10 minutes makes a huge difference.
I agree.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate or give some of the listeners, some ideas of what they can do in their day to day? People that have busy schedules or
Sure.
just need a little time for themselves.
Sure. So what I love to do is when we go to restaurants, we get a menu, or when we could go to restaurants, we'd get a menu that had appetizers, main courses, and desserts. I love to create a self-care menu. So the appetizers are things that we can do in 10 minutes. The main course are things that we can do in an hour, and the dessert is something extra special, so that self-care becomes a no-brainer activity. So we can just pick up the menu and go, I only have 10 minutes, so I only have time to do X. Like, for example, 10 minutes, deep breathing. Deep breathing is a self-care activity. Hydrating is a self-care activity. Taking a 10-minute power nap is a self-care activity. And if you have, 30 minutes, maybe, you take a walk. That's a self-care activity. Getting out in nature. They've done studies on this. Being around green and nature helps to increase your energy level and your positivity level. So, doing things like that are really helpful. But I encourage people to create a self-care menu.
I didn't know that about the green. Jenny Lee,
Yeah.
that might be why you like hiking and
Yeah. I know. As
Yes.
soon as you mentioned that, I was like, okay, now I see.
Absolutely. Getting out in nature is really great for increasing your positivity. And there's all sorts of breathing techniques that we can do that increase the feel-good chemicals in our brains. And that's considered self-care as well. And you can do that anywhere.
Mhm. I like that. I like the analogy with the menu. I'm gonna have to write some stuff down because that's
Yeah,
really
me too. Definitely gonna take you to that.
Good.
we only had appetizers today.
That's okay. That is okay. It's better to have appetizers than not eat at all.
Right.
Yep.
I love that. That is
Yes.
awesome.
Yes. I definitely like that.
Jenny Lee, did you have any other questions that you wanted to discuss?
No, not at all.
Hopefully I didn't miss anything. Is there anything else that you would like to share or express that we haven't talked about in regards to mindset?
I think it's really important. One of my favorite words is grace, particularly as it comes to mindset. We have a tendency not to give ourselves grace when we're having a negative thought or when we've done something and we're beating ourselves up. We're taking the metaphor 2x4 to our heads. And I think it's really important that grace can be very, very helpful. We're human beings. We're gonna screw up. It's part of being human. And so, I encourage people, give yourself a little grace because that's going to go a long way when it comes to your mindset.
Wow.
That's awesome. Okay. So let's share some of your resources. How can we find you and in regards to what you do?
Well, you can find me at what'swithinyou.com, and that's my blog, and I blog quite consistently. And on my website, there are some goodies for your brain that are absolutely free. So people are welcome to download. I have a brain detox that's free, and all sorts of goodies, podcast interviews, which I'm so excited. This one's going to be added to that.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Let's see if we have any comments. Go ahead, Jenny.
No, I was gonna say I love her energy. I just love it. It's just
I know.
It's so positive. That's the word. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll be here all day.
In my pocket. If I could just take you out my pocket, Pam, I need you today. You're awesome.
Well, Why, thank you. I take that as a high compliment. I appreciate it. Maybe my next iteration, I'll have Pam in a pocket. I don't know.
Ooh, there we go.
Yeah. Okay.
Sponsored by Uncommon Women.
She's got to have an Uncommon Women T-shirt on to be Pocket Pam.
Yes.
Right. We don't have any questions from the guests, from our listeners. Okay, so there. Go ahead, Jenny. I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead. I wasn't gonna say anything. I was just gonna giggle.
There is one question that we do ask all of our guest speakers, and that is, what makes you uncommon?
Oh, I love that question. I have a superpower combo that makes me uncommon, and that's my heart and my intuition. Both of those powerful things put together really help me to empathize with other women, to see them, and to see what they're going through, so that I can ask those awareness creating questions, and so that together we can create strategies that are tailored just to them, to help them go from that can't mindset to one that can and does. So that's that's what makes me uncommon.
I love it. That gave me chills.
Thank you, Pam, for your mind shift ideas, your story. Just thank you for, as for me, I can totally understand everything you've been through, when it comes to a mindset. It takes practice in that. It takes practice. But thank you. And thank you to our listeners. Be sure to check out our apparel at www.uncommonwomen.net. Also, subscribe on YouTube. Uncommon Women Podcast. Let me correct myself. Uncommon Women Podcast. Like and share. And also, if you want to be a guest speaker, also you can go into our website at www.uncommonwomen.net. Next Thursday, we are having another guest speaker, and she will be speaking on cause and effect of what we are consuming and the health issues, disease we can experience. And stay uncommon. Bye.
Bye.